When the Terminator stormed onto screens in 1984, followed by the groundbreaking Terminator 2, Judgment Day in 1991, it didn't just redefine science fiction, it launched a legacy. The stars became icons overnight, their faces forever linked to the fight against Skynet. But behind the explosive action and unforgettable one-liners lies a far more human story. Decades later, the cast has faced personal hardships, health struggles, and career ups and downs. In 2025, we take a closer look at the real lives of these legendary actors, what they've endured, where they are now, and the tragedies that shaped their journeys. Paul Winfield was born on May 22, 1939, and portrayed Lieutenant Ed Traxler in The Terminator in 1984 at the age of 45. Traxler was a gritty yet empathetic police officer, whose instincts were sharp even in the face of the unbelievable. He offered a grounded realism amidst the chaos of futuristic assassins and time-traveling saviors. Winfield's career was often punctuated by groundbreaking roles, including in Sounder and Roots, earning him critical acclaim, but racial typecasting restricted his trajectory. The industry celebrated his talent but never truly embraced him in the way he deserved. Behind the screen, his private life was fraught with pain. Though openly gay later in life, he endured decades of secrecy and societal rejection, hiding his relationship with Charles Gillen Jr., with whom he never had children. After Gillen died in 2002, Winfield reportedly sank into depression, plagued by isolation and untreated grief. In his final years, he suffered from diabetes and heart problems, retreating from Hollywood completely. He faced discrimination for both his race and sexuality, struggled with weight gain that affected his health, lost many close friends to the AIDS epidemic, and coped with a deep estrangement from parts of his own family. Paul Winfield died on March 7, 2004, at the age of 64 from a heart attack, alone and largely forgotten by the industry that once applauded him. Dick Miller was born on December 25, 1928, and appeared as the pawnshop clerk in The Terminator in 1984 at the age of 56. Though the role was small, Miller's delivery was instantly memorable, dry, snappy, doomed. This moment was emblematic of his career, a character actor appearing in hundreds of films, never the star, always the casualty. A favorite of directors like Joe Dante and Roger Corman, Miller brought life to the fringes, but the Hollywood machine never gave him what he deserved. He married Lainey Miller, a costume designer, and their union endured, but it was strained by financial instability and Dick's frequent absences on low-budget sets. They had no children, a silent sorrow that followed them for decades. Miller's later life was marked by frustrations, his name often omitted from credits, his contributions diminished. He suffered from arthritis, hearing loss, and memory decline, which led to him withdrawing from conventions and fan events he once enjoyed. He battled with alcohol in the 1980s, followed by a long period of sobriety and reflection that never truly brought him peace. In his twilight years, his wife became his caretaker, and as his health faded, so did his presence in Hollywood. Dick Miller passed away on January 30, 2019, at the age of 90 from natural causes, a prolific career eclipsed by the shadows of anonymity. Franco Colombia was born on August 7, 1941, and played the future Terminator in The Terminator in 1984 at the age of 43. Though his screen time was brief, his muscular, machine-like presence was unforgettable. Best known as a champion bodybuilder and close friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Colombia was a two-time Mr. Olympia, but his life was far from perfect. The pressure of the bodybuilding world led to years of steroid abuse, which damaged his organs and left lingering health consequences. He married Deborah Drake, and they had a daughter named Maria, but his relationship was often strained by his obsession with fitness and fame. Franco struggled with his identity, too Italian for Hollywood, too Americanized for home. He was injured severely during a 1977 World's Strongest Man competition, breaking his leg while carrying a refrigerator, and although he returned to competition, he never fully recovered physically or emotionally. He invested in failed real estate ventures that left him nearly bankrupt in the 1990s, and he was briefly investigated in Italy for tax evasion, a blow to his public image. Despite the smiles and training videos, he battled chronic pain, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of professional inadequacy compared to Schwarzenegger's massive stardom. On August 30, 2019, at age 78, Franco Colombia died of a heart attack while swimming in Sardinia. Earl Bowen was born on August 8, 1941, and stepped into the role of Dr. Peter Silberman in The Terminator in 1984 at age 43. Silberman was smug and condescending, a clinical voice of skepticism who dismissed Sarah Connor's terror with unsettling calm. Bowen's portrayal across several Terminator films added a chilling layer of realism, but his success in the franchise contrasted sharply with the underwhelming roles he was offered elsewhere. Trapped in typecasting and relegated to voice work in later years, Bowen watched his visibility in Hollywood dwindle. His personal life, too, was steeped in hardship. He was married to actress Carol Keen, but the marriage grew cold and distant, burdened by health struggles and unfulfilled dreams. They had no children, and after Keen's death from ovarian cancer in 2001, Bowen withdrew from public life. His later years were marked by profound loneliness, bouts of depression, and recurring health issues including chronic back pain and respiratory trouble. Friends reported he became reclusive, refusing interviews and appearances, living in a fog of regret for roles he turned down and the family he never had. By 2023, ravaged by lung cancer, he died on January 5 at the age of 81, with no surviving immediate family and a legacy that felt forgotten beyond his iconic sci-fi role. Bill Paxton was born on May 17, 1955, and appeared as the punk leader in The Terminator in 1984 at the age of 29. In just a few frames, he left an impression, spiky-haired and sneering, an early flash of the unique energy that would define his career. Paxton went on to star in Aliens, Twister, and Big Love, becoming a fan favorite for his everyman charm and emotional vulnerability. But behind the affable grin was a man struggling with demons. He married Louise Newberry in 1987, and they had 2 children, James and Lydia, but the marriage endured long periods of estrangement due to Bill's obsessive work schedule and untreated anxiety. His childhood was marked by trauma. He witnessed the aftermath of the JFK assassination in Dallas, an image that haunted him for decades. He also suffered from a heart defect, which caused constant fatigue and frustration. Throughout his career, he faced professional humiliation when passion projects failed, including directing The Greatest Game Ever Played, which received lukewarm reviews and nearly ended his directorial ambitions. He battled chronic health issues, depression, and an underlying fear that he would never be remembered as a true artist. In 2017, following complications from heart surgery, Bill Paxton died on February 25 at the age of 61. Arnold Schwarzenegger was born on July 30, 1947, and portrayed the Terminator in The Terminator, 1984, at the age of 37, later reprising the role in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991. Despite achieving worldwide fame and acclaim as a bodybuilder-turned-actor, Schwarzenegger's career was marked by haunting contradictions. His initial rise came at the cost of personal relationships and emotional isolation. Though he reached the height of success with blockbusters like Predator and Total Recall, he often expressed deep regret over being typecast and losing creative freedom. His marriage to Maria Shriver crumbled after revelations of infidelity and a secret child, Joseph Baena, born to the family's housekeeper, which shattered his public image. He fathered 4 children with Shriver: Catherine, Christina, Patrick, and Christopher, but the scandal permanently fractured the family unit. Schwarzenegger privately battled guilt over his estranged relationship with his authoritarian father and suffered deep depression following his heart surgeries and political backlash during his tenure as governor of California. The revelation that he was sexually harassed by a trusted coach during his youth haunted him for decades. In later years, he struggled with loneliness, despite public appearances suggesting otherwise, and has lived a quiet, melancholic life of reflection in 2025 at age 77. Linda Hamilton was born on September 26, 1956, and portrayed Sarah Connor in The Terminator, 1984, at age 28, later returning in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991. Her character began as a naive waitress and evolved into a hardened warrior, forever traumatized by the knowledge of an apocalyptic future. Hamilton's own life mirrored this transformation from innocence to anguish. Despite early acclaim and a Golden Globe nomination, her career floundered under the weight of typecasting and mental illness. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder in the 1990s, she endured years of emotional instability, broken relationships, and periods of voluntary institutionalization. Her marriage to director James Cameron, with whom she had a daughter named Josephine, ended in betrayal. He left her for Titanic star Susie Amos. Their relationship had been fraught with neglect and control, and Hamilton later described it as loveless and suffocating. She also suffered a devastating miscarriage early in her career that she rarely spoke of publicly. Deafness in one ear from a mishap on a movie set only deepened her isolation. In recent years, Linda has become a recluse, struggling with regret, grief, and the ghosts of roles she once gave her soul to. As of 2025, she is 68 years old, living alone in a remote New Orleans home, rarely seen in public, consumed by memories of love lost and futures unrealized. Michael Biehn was born on July 31, 1956, and stepped into the role of Kyle Reese in The Terminator, 1984, at the age of 28. His character, a war-ravaged protector, burned with urgency and sorrow, a man whose love transcended time yet ended in sacrifice. Biehn's real-life trajectory echoed that same painful arc. Though his early performances in Aliens and The Abyss positioned him as a rising star, he never achieved the enduring fame of his peers. His career was marred by typecasting and missed opportunities. He was famously cut from Terminator 2 and never forgiven Hollywood for repeatedly discarding him. Biehn married actress Carleen Olsen and later Jennifer Blanc, fathering twin sons with the former and one child with the latter, but both relationships were reportedly unstable and marked by his long battle with alcoholism and bouts of intense paranoia. For years, he drifted between low-budget films and obscurity, haunted by his fading relevance. He suffered a major stroke in the early 2010s that severely affected his speech and physical health, compounding the deep emotional wounds from a career that once promised everything. Chronic depression and self-isolation consumed his later years, and as of 2025, at age 68, he lives in near seclusion, barely recognizable from the valiant soldier who once captured the heart of a generation. Rick Rossovich was born on August 28, 1957, and portrayed Matt in The Terminator, 1984, at age 27, a carefree, passionate young man whose life was brutally cut short. While his character's screen time was brief, Rossovich's early career shimmered with promise. He appeared in hits like Top Gun and Roxanne, but after a string of underwhelming projects and creative disillusionment, he chose to walk away from Hollywood entirely in the early 2000s. That decision, intended to protect his mental health, came at a cost: obscurity, professional resentment, and an identity crisis that haunted him for years. Though he married Eva Rossovich and had 2 children, Roy and Isabel, his devotion to family was tested by emotional distance and long bouts of depression. He reportedly endured a nervous breakdown in his 40s and was hospitalized after a suicide attempt that was never made public. Chronic insomnia and survivor's guilt from the accidental death of a close friend during a stunt rehearsal left deep emotional scars. In 2017, he was diagnosed with early-onset dementia, which progressed rapidly. By 2025, at age 67, Rossovich is under full-time care in a private facility in Sweden, largely forgotten by fans and peers alike, a once vibrant spirit now lost in the fog of a past that never granted him peace. Lance Henrikson was born on May 5, 1940, and took on the role of Detective Hal Vukovich in The Terminator, 1984, at age 44. His character, skeptical and world-weary, was emblematic of the cynicism that often surfaces when confronted with truths too large to comprehend. Henrikson, whose intense presence graced films like Aliens and Near Dark, carried the weight of a childhood marked by abuse and abandonment. He was functionally illiterate until his 30s, having grown up in foster care and juvenile detention. Despite his rugged looks and undeniable talent, he was often relegated to supporting roles, and he later admitted to feelings of worthlessness and creative invisibility. His marriages all ended in bitter separation. He wed 3 times and fathered 4 children, most of whom became estranged as he drowned himself in work and substance abuse. Financial ruin struck him twice, once after investing in a failed independent film company, and again after a divorce settlement drained his savings. He battled chronic anxiety and an eating disorder, hidden beneath his gruff exterior. The final blow came in the form of Parkinson's disease, which began affecting him in the early 2020s, eroding his speech and mobility. In 2025, at age 85, Henrikson lives in assisted care in Southern California, rarely visited, clinging to fading memories of a life that never quite loved him back. Pete Schrum was born on December 16, 1934, and portrayed Lloyd, the shotgun-wielding bartender, in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991, at the age of 57. Lloyd's gruff attitude and moment of disarming tension with the Terminator added a brief but memorable flavor to the film. Off-screen, Pete was known as a gentle giant, adored for his work in commercials and TV roles like Gimme a Break, but he never managed to land roles that truly satisfied him artistically. He married a teacher named Helen in the early 70s, and they had a daughter, Maggie, who died of leukemia at age 10, a loss Pete never recovered from. The marriage fell apart within 2 years of her death, leaving him emotionally shattered. He spent years in therapy, sometimes turning to alcohol to cope with grief. Pete was also diagnosed with severe sleep apnea, which caused frightening episodes of sleep paralysis and left him exhausted and paranoid. Financial instability plagued his later years, forcing him to take degrading roles just to survive. He died of a heart attack on February 17, 2003, at age 68, alone in his trailer on the set of a low-budget horror film. His body wasn't found for 2 days. Robert Wley was born on December 9, 1952, and played the cigar biker in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991, at age 39. His role was brief but iconic, known for the scene where the Terminator demands his clothes, gun, and motorcycle. Robert was a biker in real life too, with a passion for Harleys and heavy metal, and his gruff exterior masked a deeply sensitive soul. Wley's acting career never took off beyond small roles in action films, and he often lamented how one scene became both his greatest recognition and biggest curse. He married twice, first to a makeup artist named Sandra, then to a dancer named Beth. Both marriages ended in divorce, plagued by infidelity, financial stress, and long periods of unemployment. He had one son, Ethan, who struggled with substance abuse. Robert himself was diagnosed with brain cancer in 1999 after suffering seizures that halted his ability to memorize lines. He went bankrupt trying to pay for alternative treatments and was forced to sell his beloved motorcycle. He became reclusive, living with a caretaker until his death on October 21, 2001, at the age of 48 from brain cancer. His final days were filled with pain and hallucinations, and his death barely registered in the press. Chino Williams was born on July 26, 1933, and played the truck driver in The Terminator, 1984, at age 51. Known for his gruff demeanor and imposing physicality, his role reflected the tough yet likable persona he was often cast to play. Williams appeared in a number of 1980s action films including Roadhouse and Weird Science, always in small but memorable parts. Despite being a favorite among casting directors for tough guy roles, he struggled financially throughout his life, rarely earning enough to support his family. He was married to a woman named Lorraine, but their marriage collapsed under the weight of addiction, long work hours, and repeated evictions. They had 2 sons, Marcus and Jamal, though Chino became estranged from both as his health declined. In the late 1990s, he suffered from chronic kidney disease, likely a result of untreated hypertension and years of alcohol abuse. He spent his final years in and out of public hospitals, relying on disability checks and living in a group home. Deeply religious, he reportedly turned to faith late in life, but remained isolated, rarely receiving visitors. Chino Williams died on April 5, 2000, at the age of 66 due to complications from kidney failure, with only a hospice nurse at his bedside. Hugh Ferington was born on June 9, 1931, and played the role of a customer in The Terminator, 1984, at the age of 53. Though his screen time was brief, Ferington brought a quiet intensity to his role, a reflection of his real-life stoicism. His character was a fleeting observer in the violent world of the Terminator, yet Hugh's performance added authenticity to the chaotic scene. Ferington's acting career was shaped by tragedy long before The Terminator. He was a Navy pilot who became paralyzed after a plane crash in the 1960s. Despite his disability, he pursued acting, appearing in shows like T.J. Hooker, often portraying characters in wheelchairs. Yet, roles were rare, and he often felt tokenized in Hollywood. He never married and had no children, having confessed in an interview that he feared burdening a family with his condition. His personal life was marked by deep loneliness, living alone in a modest apartment, relying on a caregiver. Hugh battled depression, struggled with PTSD from his accident, and suffered from chronic pain. He felt forgotten by the industry and found solace only in letters he exchanged with veterans. He died on August 7, 2001, at age 70 from complications following surgery, after battling infections that plagued him for years. Harriet May Dean was born on March 14, 1914, and appeared as a customer in The Terminator, 1984, when she was 70 years old. Her role was small and silent, but she was a familiar face to attentive film buffs, having appeared in dozens of European and American productions, often uncredited. May Dean spent much of her early career in Italy, working with legendary horror directors like Mario Bava and Riccardo Freda, playing mysterious old women and grotesque background characters. Though she had a rich filmography, she rarely spoke of her work, perhaps due to the lack of recognition she received. Harriet never married and had no known children. Her one great love was a fellow actress she met in Italy in the 1950s, but they were forced to keep their relationship secret due to the conservative nature of the times, and they eventually separated. May Dean returned to the U.S. in the 1970s and lived modestly in a rent-controlled Los Angeles apartment, surrounded by books and faded movie posters. Her health declined slowly. She suffered arthritis, hearing loss, and bouts of dementia in her later years. After a fall left her with a fractured hip, she was moved into a care facility, where she remained until her death on May 20, 2005, at the age of 91. She passed away in her sleep, with no family members to claim her belongings. Who is your favorite character from Terminator? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.